I never thought I'd see my wife cry like that. Not over me, not over anyone. It was a rainy Thursday evening, the kind of night when the streets shine under the streetlights and the air smells like wet asphalt. I had left work early, thinking I'd surprise her. I even stopped by her favorite Italian place to grab pasta, the kind she always says tastes like our first date. I walked up the porch, still smiling, imagining her face when she saw me. But the moment I opened the front door, that smile died. The sound of her voice froze me in place. She wasn't alone. At first, I thought maybe it was her brother, or one of her coworkers she sometimes invited over. But the tone, it was different. Softer, almost fragile. "I can't keep doing this," she whispered, her voice shaking. And then I heard him. A man's voice. Calm. Smooth. Like he belonged there. Like he'd been in that kitchen 100 times before. I closed the door as quietly as possible, my heart pounding in my ears. Step by step, I moved down the hallway, careful not to make the old floorboards creak. The rain outside was my only cover. From where I stood, I could see the edge of the kitchen. She was leaning against the counter, one hand gripping a glass of water like it was the only thing holding her together. He stood close, too close. My stomach turned. He reached up and brushed her cheek with his hand, his thumb gently wiping away a tear. She didn't flinch. She didn't pull away. Instead, she closed her eyes, like she'd been waiting for that touch. 1,000 thoughts crashed into my head at once. Who was he? How long had this been going on? And more importantly, why didn't she stop him? My first instinct was to storm in, throw the pasta on the floor, and make him regret ever walking into my house. But another part of me, the colder part, told me to wait. I pulled out my phone, my hands trembling, and started recording. Not because I doubted what I was seeing, but because I needed proof, for myself, for the truth I didn't want to face. Then I heard him say something that made my skin crawl. "You'll never find out, Emily. I promise you." She looked at him then, her lips trembling, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's already too late." I didn't know what she meant yet, but in that moment, I realized whatever was going on between them. I wasn't just catching the beginning. I was walking into the middle of a story that had started long before tonight. My hands were shaking so hard, I thought the phone would slip from my grip. Every word, every glance between them felt like a knife twisting deeper into my chest. I should have walked in right then, ended it, confronted both of them. But I didn't. Something in me needed to know more. I leaned closer to the wall, the edge of the hallway hiding me in shadows. They didn't notice me. Or maybe they were too wrapped up in each other to care. The man, tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a black jacket, moved closer to her. His voice dropped low, almost intimate, like he was sharing a secret. "You don't need him anymore," he whispered. "You know I can give you everything he can't." My jaw clenched so hard I thought my teeth would crack. Everything I can't. What the hell did that mean? Emily, my wife, the woman I thought I knew better than anyone, lowered her eyes. She looked guilty, torn, but not enough to step back. Not enough to tell him to leave. "It's not that simple," she said softly. "You don't understand. Then explain it to me." He pressed, his hand still resting on her arm like he had every right to touch her. The silence that followed was unbearable. I wanted her to scream at him, to push him away, to tell him she loved me and not this stranger. But instead, she looked up at him, and in her eyes, I saw something I wasn't ready to face. Hope. She was looking at him with hope. I bit down on my lip until I tasted blood, forcing myself not to explode. The phone in my hand recorded everything, her tear-streaked face, his confident smile, the space between them shrinking by the second. Finally, she spoke again. "If he finds out, everything will fall apart. My marriage, my life, Everything. He won't find out, the man repeated, his voice dripping with certainty. He doesn't suspect a thing. You're too careful. I almost laughed, bitter, hollow, dangerous. Careful? She thought she was careful? Did she really believe I was that blind? That stupid? I gripped the doorframe so hard my knuckles turned white. My mind flashed back. The late nights at work she claimed she needed, the sudden girls' trips she took without much explanation, the way she guarded her phone more than usual these past few months. The signs had been there all along. I just didn't want to see them. And then, he leaned in. Too close. His lips hovered near hers, so close that one more breath would close the distance. That was it. My control snapped. I couldn't stand in the shadows anymore. I shoved the door open so hard it slammed against the wall. They both jumped like guilty teenagers caught sneaking out of class. Emily's face went pale, her eyes wide with terror. The man straightened, his jaw tightening, but he didn't back away. My voice came out low, steady, colder than I'd ever heard it before. So this is what being too careful looks like. The silence that followed was louder than any thunder outside. Emily's lips parted, but no words came out. The man, however, smirked slightly, like he wasn't afraid of me at all, like he'd been waiting for this moment. Well, he said calmly, almost casually, looks like he found out after all. The sound of rain against the windows filled the room, the only thing breaking the suffocating silence. My hands were clenched into fists at my sides, but I didn't move. Not yet. Emily's eyes darted between us, her breathing quick and shallow. The man didn't flinch, didn't look away. He was sizing me up, like a predator gauging whether I was worth the fight. Who are you? I demanded, my voice low but sharp enough to cut glass. Does it matter? He replied, his tone dripping with arrogance. You already know what's going on here. Emily stepped forward, her voice shaking. Please, don't make this worse. That hit me harder than I expected. Don't make this worse? As if I was the problem here. My chest burned, every muscle in my body screaming to put him through the wall. But I forced myself to stay still. How long? I asked, my eyes locked on hers. She hesitated, her lips trembling, but she didn't answer. That was answer enough. I took a step closer, closing the distance between me and him. I could smell his cologne, something expensive, heavy, unfamiliar. He didn't back down, but I saw his jaw tighten. You've been in my house, I said slowly, my voice thick with anger. You've sat at my table, looked me in the eye, and all this time, he cut in, you weren't enough for her. It felt like someone had punched me straight in the chest. Emily's face crumpled, her hands flying to her mouth, but she didn't deny it. She didn't say a word in my defense. I laughed, a dark, bitter sound I didn't recognize as my own. Is that what she told you? That I wasn't enough? He shrugged, his confidence infuriatingly unshaken. She didn't have to. I can see it. I took another step, and this time he shifted slightly, his weight moving like he was ready if I swung. I wanted to, God, I wanted to, but I knew that if I did, things would spiral beyond control. Emily finally spoke, her voice breaking. Stop it, both of you! This isn't what you think. Then tell me what it is, Emily. I snapped, turning to her. Tell me why there's a man in my kitchen touching your face like he owns you. She froze. For a moment, I thought she'd finally confess, beg for forgiveness. But instead, she looked away. Because I can't undo what's already happened, she whispered. The words hit like a cold wave. I realized then, this wasn't just some stupid flirtation, some drunken mistake. Whatever this was, it was deeper, older, and I'd been blind to it. The man took a step back, but not toward the door, toward her. He put a hand on her shoulder, and she didn't move away. You should go, he said to me, like it was his house, his marriage. That was it. The last thread of restraint inside me snapped. I stepped forward so fast that the chair by the table tipped over with a crash. He straightened, ready, his eyes narrowing. The rain outside grew heavier, the wind howling through the cracks in the old windows. And in that moment, I knew, whatever happened next, there was no going back. I could feel my heartbeat in my ears, each thud louder than the rain outside. My fists tightened until my knuckles ached. He didn't move, didn't even blink, like he was daring me to take the first swing. Emily's voice caught through the tension, sharp but trembling. Stop! Please! Both of you! I didn't look at her. My eyes were locked on his. You think you can walk into my house, touch my wife, and tell me to leave? He smirked, and I wanted to wipe it off his face. I don't think, he said calmly. I know. Something inside me snapped. I stepped forward, shoving him hard in the chest. He stumbled back a step, but his smirk didn't fade. You've got guts, he said, straightening his jacket. I'll give you that. Emily darted between us, her hands on my chest, pushing me back. Please just stop. This isn't going to solve anything. Then you tell me what will, Emily. I barked. Because right now, the only thing I see is a stranger in my kitchen acting like he's the one who belongs here. Her eyes filled with tears. You don't understand. Then make me understand. I roared. For a moment, she just stood there, shaking her head like the words wouldn't come. Then she glanced at him, and something passed between them. A look. A silent exchange that told me everything. This wasn't new. This wasn't a mistake. This was planned. How long? I demanded again, my voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. She finally spoke, her words barely audible over the rain. Almost a year. The room tilted. My vision tunneled. A year. While I was working late, saving for the house renovation she wanted, planning trips for us, she'd been here with him. I turned to him. You proud of yourself? Stealing another man's wife? He chuckled, a low sound that made my skin crawl. She wasn't yours to keep. That was it. I lunged at him, grabbing the front of his jacket and slamming him against the wall. His hand shot up, gripping my wrists, and for a moment we struggled, each refusing to give an inch. Emily screamed, trying to pull me off him, but I wasn't letting go. You think you're better than me? I growled. No, he said, his eyes locked on mine. I just think I'm what she really wanted. My fist pulled back, ready to end it, but then I froze. Not because I didn't want to hit him, but because Emily's next words stopped me cold. If you hit him, you'll never hear the truth. I turned my head slowly, breathing hard. What truth? Her lips trembled. She glanced at him, then back at me. And the look in her eyes told me, whatever she was about to say, it would change everything. Her hands were shaking. She took a step toward me, her voice unsteady. You think this is just about an affair, but it's not. I kept my grip on his jacket, my chest rising and falling like I'd just run a marathon. Then start talking, Emily. She swallowed hard, glancing at him like she needed permission. He gave a slight nod. That was enough to make my blood boil. She was looking to him before speaking to me. It started almost a year ago, she began, her words trembling. But not the way you think. I was scared. I frowned. Scared of what? Of you, she whispered. The words hit like a punch I didn't see coming. My grip loosened slightly. What the hell are you talking about? You changed, she said, tears sliding down her face. After your father died, after the business started falling apart, you weren't the same. You were angry all the time, shutting me out, drinking more. I tried to reach you, but you pushed me away. I shook my head. So your solution was to crawl into his arms? He listened to me, she said, her voice breaking. He was there when you weren't. And yes, it became more. But at first, it was just someone who made me feel safe again. I stepped back, my hands falling to my sides. The weight of her words pressed down on me, but it didn't erase the image burned into my mind, her with him. You could have told me, I said quietly. I tried. She shot back. You wouldn't hear it. The man finally spoke, his tone calm but firm. I didn't plan to take her from you. But you left a void, and she needed someone. I just happened to be there. I laughed bitterly. That's your excuse? He didn't answer. Emily wiped her eyes, her shoulders slumping. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I just needed you to know why. For a moment, the only sound was the rain hammering against the glass. My chest felt hollow, my mind a mess of anger, betrayal, and something I hated to admit, guilt. I looked at her one last time, memorizing her face, not as my wife, but as a stranger. You made your choice, Emily. I grabbed my jacket from the chair, walked to the door, and opened it. The cold rain hit my face, but it felt cleaner than the air inside that kitchen. As I stepped out, I heard her voice behind me, soft, almost pleading. If you leave now, there's no coming back. I didn't turn around. I know. And then I closed the door. The rain swallowed me whole.